I didn't know what to call this I'm Stevie, by the way. I'm on the program committee. I didn't know what to call this program because I didn't know how many people would know what beta is. So I found an old issue of 7 Days newspaper, and there was an article in there, and the headline about beta, and the headline was, "What's the coolest thing in Vermont?" And so I said, wow. I looked at the article, and it was about beta technologies, and the article told that the Vermont Chamber of Commerce initiated a inaugural Coolest Thing in Vermont award. This is the Vermont Chamber. And there were 60 entries. There are some chairs over there. There were 60 entries, and beta technology won, the coolest thing in Vermont. So that's how I got the title. And I want to read you a paragraph from that article. I'm going to skip the article. So as far as I know, beta technology started in 2017 when Kyle Clark, who is the founder, the owner. Oh, well, anyway, I think then I will turn it over to Chuck Maddocks, who works at Beta as a mechanical engineer. And full disclosure, he is my nephew. And his whole family is here. No. And I'd like to introduce Chuck Maddocks. I'm very proud of him.
Okay, yeah, as Stevie mentioned, I'm her nephew, and I'm an engineer at Beta. Beta was founded in 2017. Kyle Clark is a native Vermonter and a graduate of Essex High School, and he was at a conference presenting on electric aviation, and Martine Rothblatt stopped him, and they started talking. And Martine Rothblatt is the CEO and founder of United Therapeutics, which is a biotech company. Primarily, their mission is to have an unlimited supply of organs to donate. So they are flying organs from hospital to hospital. Organs need to be used within a certain amount of time. You know, they have kind of a useful life. And the only practical way to get organs from hospital to hospital is by helicopter. And she was concerned about the carbon footprint that her company has in expanding her company. So, United Therapeutics is very interested in having electric aviation. So they reduce their carbon footprint. So they met at a conference and were talking for a long time, and United Therapeutics agreed to provide $1.5 million for seed money to Beta to elicit critical ideas in electric aviation. So with that money, I guess before I go any further, I should talk about conventional takeoff and landing aircraft versus vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So conventional takeoff and landing aircraft the abbreviation is CTOL. And that are aircraft that take off and land from a runway. So pretty much everything that you see at an airport, that's not a helicopter. So big planes, small planes, they're all CTOL aircraft. Helicopters are an example, or the best example probably, of a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So they take off and land straight up and straight down, right? And helicopters can come in, several different configurations. There's the main rotor and tail rotor, but there's also like two rotors or intermeshing rotors, counter rotating rotors, and there's different configurations for helicopters. Another example would be a V-22 Osprey. That's a tilt rotor aircraft, so it takes off vertically, and then both engines tilt down to fly forward. And then a Harrier jump jet is another example of a VTOL aircraft. So with the seed funding from United Therapeutics, Kyle put together a small team, and in less than a year, they developed AVA, which was their first eVTOL. So that's an electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So this is all battery-powered aircraft. It has 8 motors on these outriggers, and it has counter-rotating propellers. So that means the top propeller spins one way and the bottom propeller spins the other way. And with a very small team, they were able to build and test and begin flight testing this aircraft to really explore what's possible in electric aviation. And here's a video about Ava.
You can see we have Ava behind this little Taylor craft. Ava's what started it all. We started out with 6 or so people and a couple interns, and we were trying to show that we could make this work. We could make electric aviation a reality.
Ava was an effort to produce the largest flying eVTOL aircraft. It was more of a proof of concept, like, yeah, we can do this, this is possible. Electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft are upon us, and this is what they could look like.
We got about 10 knots of wind, 15 maybe. We're gonna go full left, then we're gonna come back normal, and we're gonna go full right to check yaw authority.
Really energized a lot by Kyle. We took out the barriers you find in a normal company where we just didn't have anything in our way.
Enabling top, enabling bottom.
We welcome the people who have done interesting stuff or weird stuff, creative stuff, and we get everything from the artists to the makers to the builders, and nobody's stifled. So we have a very large community of creative weirdos.
Is Ava, which has been described as the Edward Scissorhands of aircraft. And from that, they learned quite a bit, and a lot of it was they learned what not to do, and they really kind of focused on simplicity. So Kyle sketched a concept for a new aircraft called Aliyah that the design started as an airplane based on the Arctic tern, one of the longest migrating birds in the world. So very efficient aircraft. The wing shape is the same as an Arctic tern. It has the same V-tail as an Arctic tern. And then they took this very efficient aircraft design and married it with like a quadcopter design. So it has 4 propellers on top to enable the vertical lift. And this it was designed to, primarily initially to transport organs from hospital to hospital for United Therapeutics. Aliyah has some features that are similar to a typical aircraft. So it's got, a wing and a body. It has typical control surfaces. So there are ailerons on the wing to control roll. There are rudders on the tail to control yaw, and elevators on the horizontal stabilizer. It's a ruddervator, but to control pitch. So this is how pretty much all aircraft are controlled. So it's simple control surfaces. And helicopter landing gear or skids. But what makes Aliyah different is that it's all battery electric. So it has 5 batteries in the belly of the aircraft, and that's where most of the weight is, and that makes the aircraft very stable when you're flying it as well. So it'll always kind of return back to a neutral, stable position, which helps improve safety as well. It has distributed electric propulsion. So electric motors, for the same power output, an electric motor will be lighter than a gas-powered motor. And it makes it easier to put motors wherever you want them. And you're just running power cables and communication to them. So it has 4 lift motors on the top and then 1 pusher propeller on the back. All the motors are air-cooled, so there's not, in most electric cars, they're liquid-cooled motors. So you've got a liquid cooling loop, and that adds complexity. So they're air-cooled motors, which make them lighter and simpler. They're also direct drive, which means there's no gearbox between the motor and the propeller. whatever speed the motor is spinning at is the same speed that the propeller spins at, which is pretty common in electric cars as well. And then it has redundant fly-by-wire controls. So most aircraft of this size have cables that connect the pilot controls to the control surfaces. So if you pull back on the yoke or the stick, it moves the tail surfaces to pitch the aircraft up, right? In larger planes and in newer planes, they have fly-by-wire controls, which means that there are sensors from the pilot's controls, sensors that read those inputs and then translate those into electric signals that go out and move the control surfaces. So no cables, it's all digital, electric. And then ALIA also has redundant flight controls. So there are 2 rudders, and each one has its own actuator to turn them. And so if one actuator fails, you still have the other one. And then on the tail, there are split surfaces here. Each one has its own actuator. So it gives you a level of redundancy in all the control surfaces. So if you lose power to half the aircraft, you can still fly it. Or if that actuator fails, you can still fly it. And the idea, the concept for flying ALIA is that it takes off with the 4 lift propellers, and then you turn on the pusher propeller to accelerate it forward. And as you get speed over the wing, it generates lift, and then you require less lift from the vertical propellers. And once you going fast enough, you can turn off those vertical propellers, and you're just flying on the wing like a normal aircraft. And those propellers will stow along the booms to make it more aerodynamic. And then on the other end, it's just the reverse. So you slow the aircraft down and then engage the lift motors, which provide some lift, and then you can continue slowing down, below the stall speed of the wing, and continue, slowing, reducing your forward velocity until you can come to a hover, and then you can go down at a hover. So that's the concept. ALIA looks kind of funny in terms of a normal aircraft. There are hundreds of companies in this space that also have funny looking aircraft. The 2 that are the top 3 companies that are the best funded and closest to having a commercial product are Beta, Joby, and Archer. So those are kind of the 3 big ones. Beta's in Vermont, Joby and Archer are in Silicon Valley. And those companies are focused on an air taxi mission, so kind of an Uber in the sky to fly you over the traffic in LA. So you're not 2 hours in traffic in LA, you can just fly 30 minutes or so. Or they've announced a route from downtown Manhattan, from the heliport there, to JFK, which is about a 2-hour car ride around to JFK, but you can take a flight that takes 15 or 20 minutes. And electric aviation is also much cheaper because it's just the cost of the electricity. We believe that electric motors will be simpler and less to maintain because there's many fewer moving parts. So the goal is to get the price down of these ride-sharing flights to the cost of an Uber Black. That's their vision. But there's many other companies, and they come in all different sizes. So here are 2 examples of personal eVTOLs. So this is a small. This is from a company called Jetson that has 1 person in it with a helmet on, and it has the 8 rotors, kind of similar to Ava. And this one is called Hexa from a company, Lyft, this is a multi-copter configuration. So it has all these little propellers on top and kind of operates like a traditional helicopter. Other ones kind of in our class are Eve, which is owned or is an offshoot of Embraer, which is a large airplane maker. It's the 3rd largest airplane maker after Boeing and Airbus. And they have a similar configuration to a Leah with one pusher motor in the front and then fixed lift motors on top, except they have 8 motors. The Joby aircraft all has 6 motors and they all tilt. So they all point up to take off and then they all go forward. So there's kind of a lot of moving parts there. The Archer aircraft has 6 fixed lift motors in the back and then 6 tilting motors in the front. So they'll point up to take off vertically and then they'll rotate down to move forward. This yellow aircraft is from Whisk. They have a similar configuration to Archer, this lift plus tilt design. Whisk is owned by Boeing, so Embraer and Whisk, there's a lot of confidence in those because of the companies behind them, Embraer and Boeing, who have a lot of certification experience. They have very wide service networks, so if something breaks, they have all these centers around the world already that they can stock parts at and technicians. Another interesting about the Whisk aircraft is that it'll be fully autonomous, no pilots on board. So, just 4 or 5 passengers. And that is, they understand that it's going to take longer to certify that aircraft and for people to actually want to fly in it. All the other ones are designed to be piloted from the outset, but they have these fly-by-wire systems, so it makes it easy to fly them remotely, which is what Joby and Archer have done most of their flight testing doing, or you could make them autonomous if you have the right software, it will be able to fly from point A to point B on its own. And then just to show you the size, there's also an aircraft under development by a company called Hart that is a conventional takeoff and landing aircraft, so it doesn't take off vertically, but can hold 35 people. So, much larger than some of the other ones, and could be battery electric. It might be hybrid electric, so it'll use mostly batteries, but some jet fuel that will turn a generator and will still be more efficient and than a traditional aircraft of that size. All right, so Beta was founded in 2017. They were flight testing AVA in 2018. They came up with the ALIA concept, and in 2020, they rolled out the first prototype and started doing some hover testing at the airport in Burlington. You can see the snow on the ground. So this is wintertime 2020, 5 years ago. They learned some things there, and there were some things that needed to be improved. And they said, okay, while we're working on the lift portion of this, we will airlift the aircraft over to Plattsburgh to do flight testing there. Plattsburgh is a good location to do flight testing because there's not a lot of commercial traffic compared to Burlington, and they have this super long runway that allows you can take off and land several times in one direction and then turn around and do the reverse. So we'll bring the plane over there and we'll start working on our conventional takeoff and landing because we need to do that as well. In this picture, you can see this helicopter skid. On January 1st, they did their first up and away flight of serial number 1, our first prototype. They put on this other landing gear known as the shopping cart landing gear because it's just these 4 wheels. And they did January 1st, 2021, their first up and away flight. So they took off, flew around, and came back for a landing. We also got our first official customer orders. So UPS, for delivering packages, and then Blade is a charter helicopter operator in a lot of major cities around the world. And so they ordered 5 firmer orders and 15 options. We closed our Series A funding round. So after we were flight testing with AVA, we got additional funding from United Therapeutics that kept us going. And then we closed the Series A funding round. $368 million, led by Fidelity, and then with investments from the Amazon Climate Fund, and then United Therapeutics, and Stone Point Capital, which is Chuck Davis's company. Chuck Davis grew up in Burlington, went to UVM. The Davis Center at UVM is named after him, and so he has a capital fund, and he's very invested in Beta. And this is about the time that I joined Beta, and there were about 150 to 200 employees at the time. And then ALIA did its first flight back, airport-to-airport flight from Plattsburgh back to Burlington. And so you can see, some of the team there welcoming her back at Burlington. And then Martine herself flew in ALIA. So the aircraft has two pilot controls, two sets of pilot controls, like a pilot and a co-pilot, which makes it very useful for training as well. So you can bring in people. We have simulators, so you can train them on the ground and then get them up in the air and actually have them fly the plane. In 2022, we did our first cross-country flight. So a cross-country flight is defined as an airport-to-airport flight greater than 50 miles. So Plattsburgh to Burlington doesn't count. You have to fly Burlington to Manchester. So we're starting to expand the range that the aircraft can fly. We rolled out the second prototype, serial number 2, which focused mainly on the vertical takeoff and completed its first hover flight in 2022. We closed our Series B funding round, $375 million, led by TPG and Fidelity and more repeat investors. And then we flew from Burlington to Bentonville, Arkansas, to the UP Summit, which is a future transportation summit, where they talk about all different modes of future ways to move around, future mobility. So they did 9 flights from Plattsburgh across New York and Ohio and on down to Bentonville, Arkansas for this summit. And then they flew all the way back. And so now we're showing that, we can actually, do real distances with an electric aircraft. We broke ground on the production facility that's at the Burlington Airport now. So it's a 188,000 square foot production facility to build ALIAs. And then after getting back from Bentonville, they did another flight out to Louisville, and to UPS Worldport, which is their large package sorting operation. So a lot of packages flowing through there. And we got some orders from LCI, which is a leasing company, aircraft leasing company in Bristow, which is the largest private helicopter operator in the world. They do a lot of offshore oil and gas support. So flying people and cargo to oil platforms, but other charter flights as well. On the way back from Louisville, we completed a 336 nautical mile flight, which is 421 statute miles. Nautical miles are what are used to measure distance for flying and also in the marine industry, so on boats and stuff, right? And that's based more on longitude. There's 360 degrees of longitude that divide the U.S. or the world, and each one's 60 minutes within each degree. In 1 minute is 1 nautical mile. So it's 1.15 statute miles, normal miles. So we completed a flight from Jamestown, New York, back to Plattsburgh. That was 336 nautical miles. So you can fly across the whole length of New York State. So we're really getting somewhere now. This is a video about the flight back out to UPS.
Right base for 35 right, 0 Uniform Tango, flight 2 to the tower. So long.
Terminal 250 Uniform Tango, Louisville Tower, wind 31010, runway 35 right, cleared line.
And look at all those Worldport jets, Chief.
We're back here in Louisville, Kentucky to support the UPS visit. I mean, electric aviation is here, right? We came out again, charging on our own infrastructure, flying our own aircraft. So it's massive to be able to demonstrate how far along electric aviation has come and where we are right now. Call came out to be able to support this. We were able to respond in a relatively short amount of time to be able to get on the road. And, we had a couple little delays with weather, but otherwise, really smooth trip.
We flew today through some of the busiest airspace in the United States through Cleveland. And then landing in Louisville is obviously very busy with the cargo operations here. So showing that, electric airplanes can fit in just with normal airplanes in the real world. We didn't make any special arrangements for this, I think is a big gain for our operation. And I think we're just going to continue to see gains in efficiency from here on. UPS has been an incredibly innovative and forward-leaning partner on this technology. Getting that sort of touch point with them, same as they get the touch point with the aircraft, is always motivating to our team for sure.
Yeah, how's that? Very good. So that commemorates what these guys set up, which was the first flight of this aircraft for UPS. It flew here from up in Vermont. You want to sit in the cockpit? You would make my day if you did. How about that? So hop right up in the cockpit there, and you can sit in the first electric cargo aircraft.
So that was 2022. 2023, we're demonstrating that we can fly airport to airport, and found that there is actually kind of a market just for that type of aircraft. So they said, okay, well, let's make a conventional takeoff and landing version of ALIA. So same thing as the vertical one, minus the lift propellers. So it'll just do airport to airport, and there's plenty of people that want that as well. Serial number 1 flew down to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida to do some training and demonstrations with the U.S. Air Force down there. So having their pilots fly it, seeing what they can do with it. We opened the production facility in 2023. So that's when we got our certificate of occupancy, and we were allowed to be in there. Some parts were still under construction. There's pretty much nothing in there. It's just this giant empty room now. But you can see how much the team has grown in just a few years. This is the opening announcement. We got some orders from Helijet, which is a charter helicopter operator out of Vancouver, and Air New Zealand, which is our first airline order. And we announced a partnership with Archer, one of those competitors that I showed you earlier. So we are not just developing an aircraft, we're also developing the charging systems and kind of the whole aerospace, electric aerospace infrastructure, or the whole system. So we have a charge cube, which is a fixed charger that is high power, 320 kilowatts. So I plugged in my electric car at the little charge point chargers at the library over there. Those are 7 kilowatts. Most high-speed chargers start at 50 kilowatts for cars, and so this charge cube can do 320 kilowatts. So it can charge the plane in under an hour at this high power. The charger plug itself is a CCS plug. Here's my car. Oops. Here's my car again. Plugging into one of their towers. So this charger can charge an airplane, or it could charge my car or other vehicles at the airport. It could charge Amazon's new electric delivery trucks. So it's very useful. And that's what this is the charger or the plug that we have on our aircraft. Other people like Archer and other electric aircraft manufacturers are also starting to adopt this plug. So they'll be able to charge off the Beta chargers as well. We also have a mini cube, which is a portable solution. Most airports have an outlet to plug in a jet to run power to it when the engine is not actually running. And this mini cube will plug into that outlet, and then you can plug it into the aircraft. 40 or 65 kilowatts, so not nearly as high power as the big one. It'll take longer to charge, but you can take this mini cube and put it in the back of the aircraft and then fly airport to airport, and even if they don't have a charger, you can likely charge there. So I'm going through a timeline, and we're in 2023. This is the map of our charge network today. So this is now. All the solid black dots are active chargers. So those are airports or locations where they have chargers. All the gray ones are in progress. So there are 55 active sites right now. A lot of them in the East Coast. You can see the path down to Bentonville. We have one in Toronto, and then we also have one active one in the UAE right now, because a lot of companies are announcing plans to fly in the Middle East. And we have one out at Archer's site in Salinas, California as well. Okay, 2024, on its way back from Florida, serial number one, our first prototype, did some demonstrations, more demonstrations with the Air National Guard and the Air Force, as well as Bristow over in Louisiana. So they're looking at, how can we use this aircraft for cargo flights? How, what can we do for like medevac missions? Our charge network really grew a lot in 2024. With support from regional airports, fixed base operators, which are kind of like the marina for an airport. So you can, land your airplane there, and you can go, and they will provide fuel and other services. The Michigan Department of Transportation announced an initiative to install our chargers. So we have quite a few active chargers there. And then the U.S. Health and Human Services, also funded some chargers to help with relief efforts and for medical missions. We got UL certification on the charge cube, so that's a sticker that says that it's safe. We closed our Series C funding round, led by the Qatari Investment Agency, which is the sovereign wealth fund of Qatar. So by 2024, the funding for these types of companies is starting to dry up, and we're starting to look to international markets. And we got some orders from the New Zealand Air Ambulance Service for medevac missions. Okay, and so that brings us, this is end of 2024. 2023, 2022, we broke ground in the production facility. 2023, we opened it. And then at the end of 2024, we flew our first aircraft that was built in that production facility. So quite fast.
The big deal about this aircraft is it's the first one to come out of our production facility. So the two aircraft we've been flying were prototypes. This is the first one of production, which is a huge, huge milestone.
Good morning.
Hey Chuck, how are you, sir?
Good.
Hey, sorry, missed your call there.
Oh, it's all right. Just checking in on the 11 o'clock.
So it's everybody's pushing, but it's a culture building thing. It's a camaraderie building thing, and virtually everyone is involved. There's not a person in the business that isn't, and that means a lot, obviously.
Super.
So
Go.
cool. All right, we'll talk to you at 11. Thanks in advance for your insight there. So we're going to go into D2 here, and every day I've been spending an hour or so, hour to 2 hours, doing the first flight sequence of everything from the startup through the shutdown of the airplane. So we're going to go do a version right now. Did you see this? Isn't that great? It's the cockpit. Flying the first flight in the CX is, it may be conceived as like, hey, that's a treat you get for engineering or whatever, but it's not the case. It is an experience for me to really, really learn about the shortcomings of the engineering so that I don't misunderstand or misrepresent the status of our business, not to investors, not to customers, and certainly not to myself, which would be
dishonest in guiding the business to what's important.
This is his way of leading the company from the front, which is so uncommon these days. Like he'll be the first one to put himself at risk. He has so much faith in what we've all done together that he's excited and eager to be the first guy in the airplane and fly it.
Chase, altimeter at 3056, wind 030 at 5 knots.
Copy 3056, copy.
Test control, mobile advisor, you're clear engine start.
Copy, cleared engine start. Copy, cleared. First flight profile, test card 1, test point 1, break. Chase, say taxi instructions.
Chase, clear for takeoff, flight runway heading initially.
It's never a no-risk thing to go flying for the first time, so I think ultimately if those risks roll up to me to make a decision, then I should own that decision.
7,000 feet, predictable, 1900, 97 knots on condition, standing by, test point 1, test card 8.
I'm accepting the risk, and I'm not just accepting it for somebody else, but I'm accepting it for myself. It generates an empathy for all of the people that are working on those problems because you're in those problems with them.
Getting a shot with that pretty factory in the background that built this thing.
That's the goal.
Really felt good on the go around. Stable on the approach, little control check felt good, and we are good to land.
So pretty much everything about that plane is different than the previous ones that we had been flying, and almost everything was new on it. So it was really a big deal to roll that out and fly that. And then into 2025, 2025 was a really big year for Beta. And it started with that aircraft, which has a tail number 916 Lima Foxtrot. I'll refer to it like that sometimes. Flew all the way out to California with some stops in Utah. Some announcements there about installing chargers and getting some planes in there in advance of the Olympics that are going to happen there in 2032, I think, or thereabouts. Flew all the way out to California and back, 7,000 nautical miles, over 80 airports, flying in and, to all these little airports to show people the aircraft, flying through different conditions. So, rain and snow and desert heat through Texas and Arkansas and down in Florida, flew into Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world, and back up. So did this, huge long flight all around. And then while that was happening, the second aircraft rolled out of the factory, and then they put that on a boat and brought it over to Ireland. Got off the boat in Ireland, flew across the Irish Channel, did some stops in England, and then did a flight across the English Channel into Paris for the Paris Air Show. The Paris Air Show is one of the biggest industry trade shows for the aerospace industry in the world. So Boeing, Airbus, all the major manufacturers are there, all the suppliers are there. we flew our aircraft there, and it flew every day in the air show. So we're doing flying demonstrations for everybody at the air show. And then after that, it continued flying throughout Europe. As you can see, Europe, they have a lot of, this aircraft is well suited for Europe because it's much smaller than the US, right? And so it's easy to fly, all around England with this aircraft. This demonstration culminated with a delivery to our early customer, Bristow, in Norway. And so that they could try training, same thing that we were doing with the Air Force previously, training their pilots, training their maintainers, testing out routes, and flying it in the conditions that they plan to fly it in. So it's been quite rainy in Norway last summer and fall. And Bristow is typically doing flights from Stavanger, which I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, to Bergen, which is a 4-hour drive across all these fjords, but it's a 1-hour flight. And we can do it, all electric for, less than $10, I think, in electricity. And this is, so the Paris Air Show was a pretty big deal for us.
There's just such a wide range of people here from all over the world, from varying cultures and backgrounds, from business to government to just aviation enthusiasts. And, the overall reaction is just, I think, wow. Like, I did not realize that we were this far along in the pursuit of electrifying aviation.
People have seen mock-ups for years, but having a real airplane that people can touch, feel, see, fly every day, it's been so important to have that. And I'd love more than anything seeing the response from customers and just the overall population of seeing electric aviation happen and be that big moment. You think of the age as we move from props to jets. I think we're doing the same type of thing here. Seeing electric aviation happen and being real, it really makes you take a moment of pause.
And so our first aircraft off the production line that flew across the country and back, once it came back, they converted it to a passenger version. So all the aircraft so far have been cargo aircraft. So they cut windows into the structure, they put seats in it, they put an interior in it, and then they did the first all-electric flight with passengers into JFK. So from the Hamptons into JFK, and then from JFK up to Westchester County Airport. And so these are routes that are flown, today by charter operations. So that was good. In 2025, we produced 4 aircraft, including our first A250, the vertical takeoff and landing version of ALIA. So been producing the CTOL version, and now we have our first vertical takeoff and landing version. We announced a partnership with GE to develop a turbo generator for the aircraft. So GE is the largest jet engine manufacturer in the world. They looked at all the other companies in the space and decided to partner with Beta because they saw that our motors were the best. And so they will provide a turbojet engine that's used in helicopters and some turboprop aircraft, and we'll put our electric motor on the front to turn it into a generator. And it'll run on jet fuel, but that electricity from that turbo generator can be used in all the aircraft that have this distributed electric propulsion system. So it really just extends the range and helps go from a couple hundred miles to like 1,000 miles in range. And as part of that agreement, GE is going to invest $300 million into Beta as well. Another one of our aircraft, same thing, put it on a boat and brought it down to New Zealand for Air New Zealand to begin training and demonstrating with it. Their intended route is from the North Island to the South Island and back to deliver packages, or through the mail service there. So good distance, good route for our aircraft. So this is a picture of the aircraft actually in New Zealand, charging there. And then we did our IPO this year, so which was very successful. Here's Kyle ringing the bell. This gavel is actually for ringing the closing bell. The opening bell, this is from the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, which is just, you press a button and it rings the bell. And there's this hammer that is just kind of a symbol for like hitting the closing bell, which is not this bell. And Kyle asked the woman, said, "Can I use this and hit the bell?" And she said, "Nobody's ever done that before." But she saw how tall he is and reached down, and so he did it. So up here is some of the original employees at Beta, Kyle's family, so his wife Katie, and daughters Willa, Ruby, Charlotte, son Harry, and then Chuck Davis, his wife, and their son and grandson. And so the IPO, the opening price for Beta was higher than we estimated. So it was a very successful IPO. In one day, we raised $1 billion. So that'll carry us for a long way. And as part of the IPO, we're a public company now, and we have to disclose some more information than we used to. So one of them is our certification timelines for our products. So all the aircraft that we've been flying are experimental aircraft. Until the aircraft is certified, you can't use it for commercial missions. We can't sell it to customers and have them use it for, flying people or customers' packages around. Instead of just certifying the vertical takeoff and landing aircraft like some of our competitors are doing, we're doing kind of a stepwise approach that'll build confidence between us and the FAA along the way. So the first thing to get certified was our pusher propeller, which will see different forces than a typical gas engine propeller. The way the electric motors operate, they have the maximum torque at low RPM, which is not the same for traditional propellers, so we had to do additional testing to show that. And then by the middle of 2026, this year, we'll certify our pusher motor. And that will also allow us to sell that motor to other companies so that they can put it in their aircraft and it's already certified. And it'll be the only FAA certified electric motor for aviation. And then about a year later, we'll certify the aircraft, which includes the motor and the propeller, which are already certified. And then we'll be, certifying all the rest of the aircraft. So that's the batteries, the whole structure, making sure the wing's strong enough and the landing gear is good, and demonstrating that it's a safe aircraft. And then about a year after that, we'll certify the VTOL aircraft. So this year, motor, next year or early, I guess it'll be, by mid-2027, we're planning to certify the aircraft, and then we can start rolling those off the production line and selling those, delivering them to customers and getting paid for that. And then about a year after that, we'll do the vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, which has 85% of the same parts as the conventional takeoff and landing one. It's just the lift motors. Along the way, we're working with the FAA and gaining confidence with them. We also disclosed some of our future products. So the first one is a MV250 is what it's called. And this is an autonomous hybrid version of our A250 vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So this would be for the military, basically a large cargo drone. So no pilots. It'll have the hybrid system on it so it can fly much further. we're working on that. And then a 19-passenger conventional takeoff and landing aircraft. So this is a size comparison with our 5-passenger aircraft to the 19 one. And the 19-passenger aircraft will use the same pusher motor, just in, flip it around, and it'll have 4 of those. So using a lot of the same technology that we've already developed and start building that into larger aircraft. And, we kind of see that as the future is, how soon till we can carry 150 people or more, right, and do the same missions that are currently being flown. And we also got a contract to supply the pusher motor for the Eve aircraft. So Eve is another one of our competitors. They have a similar configuration to us, except they have 8 lift motors and 1 pusher propeller. They're backed by Embraer. They have a lot of orders. And if you take the number of orders they have, so every one of those planes will have a Beta motor on the back of it. And the cost of our motor times the number of planes they have orders for adds up to $1 billion just in selling the motor itself. So, selling our technology is another way that we're kind of diversifying what our revenue stream is. So we've got chargers, we've got aircraft, and we've got other systems like the motor. This is the first prototype from Embraer. They did their first flight at the end of last year. These have, it was just a vertical takeoff and landing flight, up and down, no humans on board, and it has 8 Beta lift motors in it as well for their first flight. So we're working with them on that as well. Okay, that is, and then, it wouldn't be complete without talking about the benefits and culture at Beta, which are kind of unique and are really driven by Katie Clark. Kyle's wife is our director of culture. And so she's responsible for the benefits, and she's responsible for making sure we have this clean image, or all our buildings are beautiful. This is our Montreal office, and then lots of the other perks that we have. So it would not be unusual for a Beta employee to wake up, go into the Beta Health Clinic, which is on Kimball Ave near the airport, and we have a doctor and a couple nurse practitioners there, and they can do routine, that he's my primary care physician, so he does annual checkups and routine medical tasks, and that's all free of charge for all Beta employees and their immediate families, so their spouses and kids. So it makes it much easier if you're sick to get in there and see a doctor right away. It's close to work, it's very convenient. So I could do that, drive into the office, plug in my car and charge for free. It's free charging for all Beta employees. Go get some coffee and snacks, which are all free. And then that'll tide me over to lunchtime. And we have a chef on site. And there's a prepared lunch, healthy lunch every day that's free. You can sign up for a chair massage once a week, totally free, 15 minutes. There's flexible time off, so there's unlimited vacation policy. So the general rule is that you get compensated, in pay and all these other ways, and you should put into the company a little bit more than you get back, and that's kind of the overall rule. You can bring in your kids or your pets to work every day, and we also have free flight training. So we have a fleet of trainer aircraft and flight instructors on staff to get your pilot's license in a helicopter or a fixed wing normal airplane. That's all free of charge. And then with this IPO and the money that came in, Kyle and Katie held a press conference with some local Vermont news organizations and kind of announced plans that they're going to double the size of the production facility, and they plan to hire 1,000 more people over the next 18 months, mainly in Vermont. So they're very committed to Vermont. And every summer they hold a big party on their property in Lincoln, Vermont, where there are food trucks. So there's free food and drink, of course. There are bands and dancing. They put on a rodeo. They have a pond you can swim in. Everybody that works at Beta and their family and friends are invited. So it's great. All right, and so here's a video on that.
There's two big experiments here. It's how to design, build, and fly a new type of electric aircraft and how to create a new type of company. And both of them are systems problems.
Nothing worthwhile is ever easy to get to. It's hard to build an electric airplane. It's hard to transition an aircraft. It's hard to make an aircraft light when it's powered by batteries.
Creating this new type of company where we're experimenting with healthcare, childcare, how we compensate people, how we celebrate people, how we organize people, how we get them driven to do the same tasks, how we get behind 12-week goals.
The beauty is in the challenge and the problem solving, whether it's our food program or where we choose to build our business or grow our families.
All these things create a new type of company, especially in aerospace. And meanwhile, we're creating a new type of airplane where we've got fly-by-wire systems, batteries, motors, inverters, a new configuration of an airplane, new material systems. All these things come together. Both of them are systems problems. And these are the two, I would say, systems that I'm obsessed with.
People are our greatest asset, hands down. And so it's important to take care of those people. And it's important to take care of the people that those people care about so that when they show up to work, they can bring their best selves.
The organization and the success of our business is a function of those systems working together. The organization and the success of our airplane is a function of the systems being in harmony and working together on the airplane. Every employee here has to contribute complementary to other people. Every system on the airplane has to be a complement to another system. The batteries can't supply more current than the inverter can use because it's out of balance. The wing can't be stronger than the top of the fuselage because it's out of balance. You can have the strongest wing in the world, but if the clip that holds it onto the airplane is weaker than the wing, doesn't matter how strong it is, because you're only strong as your weakest link in the chain in that case, right? In many cases, that's the same as the company.
It only works when we're working at the same thing at the same time together. That's how this business works well, if everybody is on the same track with the same mission and the same goal.
It doesn't only have this temporal change that's happening all the time, but it also has this balance that has to be achieved at each point in time. And the airplane, because we're not gonna go and just do one giant step to design a perfectly certified, well thought out airplane, because we don't know enough to do that. Nobody does. Nobody's ever certified an electric airplane before, let alone flown it, really. And so we're trying to do that and grow the company, grow the plane, but it actually works in a remarkably cohesive way, which is the people that are willing to accept a high velocity, interesting, dynamic environment also are capable of a high velocity technical program that's dynamic in nature.
It's a community of people working hard to make magic happen.
Okay, I've got one more video, but it's like 14 minutes long. So, and we're almost out of time. So we can play this. I can answer questions. We can do both. I don't know how long we have here. Yeah, sure.
What's the payload?
It's about 1,000 pounds, or 5 passengers, 1,000 pounds, 200 cubic feet.
Okay, it goes about 400 miles. What's the range?
Closer to like 100 miles, I think. Yeah, right now. With, we're required to have fuel reserves, and so that's kind of limiting it now, for sure. Yep.
Can we use the microphone?
Sure.
How can you hear me now? I don't think. Is it on there? How about if we do some questions and then do the video, and people can leave if they want to or need to?
Absolutely.
Okay, I've got the microphone, and I would prefer if you used it because we're videotaping this. So I will try to get this microphone to you. Pass it. Maybe we could have questions go this way.
So how is Beta going to adjust to the changes in the batteries? Because the whole battery business is going to change.
Yeah, I mean, I work mostly on the motor, so I don't have all the insight. But you know, the batteries that we're using today use the same battery cells that are in electric vehicles, and they're working on new chemistries for batteries. And so we have people working on, you know, the next generation and the generation beyond that, or starting to test those and understand how those are different. And part of Beta's strategy is we'll sell an aircraft for, say, $5 million. And then if the customer uses it as much as we think they will, they'll have to replace their batteries every year. And so we'll sell them new batteries every year. And the performance of the batteries should go up every year. So they'll get, you know, the performance of the plane will go up as they do that. And so they expect to get, you know, sell it for $5 million and get about $10 million in battery sales with that aircraft over the life of the aircraft.
Yeah, you have
It's
DC.
closer. Wait, right on your mouth.
Okay, yeah, you have DC power, right? You're using batteries.
Yep.
Okay, which requires an inverter to invert it to AC,
Yep.
which you lose a certain amount of.
A little bit, yeah.
Right. Why can't they go DC and keep the motors DC?
A DC battery. The way the motors work, there are magnets, and when you flow current through a wire, it generates a magnetic field. And so if you think of like a stick magnet that has like a north and south pole, and if you were to flow current, you know, you flow in one direction, you flow the DC through it, it'll line up with that. You have to keep moving it to get the motor to spin. So pretty much all motors, if they need to spin, they need to have AC, or they need to have changing current, or you need to change where you're putting that current. Does that make sense? Yeah. Or, yeah. I talked to a guy and say, okay, well, like a DC brushless motor, like that's a DC motor, right? It's like, not really, because it hits, you know, it's has two teeth or that contact one way, and as it keeps going, it jumps to the next one. So I guess it is fixed from a DC point, but the current needs to go back and forth. Yeah.
I just was wondering, you never addressed the wonderfulness of the noise.
No, that's right. Yeah, so it is much quieter. When they take off, it is a little noisy. The propeller makes about the propeller is generating most of the noise there. So when a similar aircraft of this size takes off, you have that propeller noise plus the noise from the engine. And the propeller noise is quite loud on takeoff. But once it's up in the air, it's very quiet. So yeah, I was walking my dog and heard something and like looked up, and there was an aircraft like right above me in Burlington. And so it is much quieter. Yeah.
Beta was, say, traditionally owned by one person or two people, and now you have shareholders. How do you convince the shareholders to keep the culture that you currently have?
I forget the term, but basically when companies go public, they move to a different structure or organization at the top, different leadership structure. That didn't happen at Beta. I think we're like a company-controlled company or something like that. So Kyle Clark maintains like 63% of the voting power. We have Class A shares and we have Class B shares. And Class B shares are worth 40 votes or something. So he basically all the board of directors is unchanged when we went public, and the leadership is basically all the same. So that we've been able to keep the culture the same that way.
I forgot the exact numbers that I read, but at one point I read some figures that compared the cost per hour to fly these things compared to a similar size one with a conventional engine in it. Could you speak to that, because the numbers I saw just seemed unbelievable.
Yeah, well, let's see if I can pull it up. It's just the cost of electricity, right? So which varies from location to location, and then jet fuel is much more expensive.
But what if you factor in the cost of the building of the plane?
The overall cost, because we sell for this size aircraft, we sell it for more than a traditional aircraft, right? So the sale price is higher, but the operation and maintenance costs should be lower, is what they're selling it as. So we haven't flown it enough to really show that it's true, but we've been flying them quite a lot, and the maintenance is very low. I'll try to pull that up, but we could keep going with questions, I think, too. This might have something.
I know that you have a small aircraft called the Pipistrel.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those do you have, and what are those used for?
So we use those for training flights. So they're part of our flight training program. And our Pipistrel seat 2 people, so a pilot and an instructor. And I don't know how many we have, maybe 5 or 7. At one point, I heard that we have the largest fleet of Pipistrels in the world. And those are really, they're all electric trainer aircraft. Actually, we have some that are gas powered. They have Rotax engines in them. So yeah, they're used for training, and we have about 7 of them. That answers your question. So this is from our third quarter earning result, but it's not in here. But I do remember seeing that information somewhere. So. I always go back to our S1, which is what you file when you do your IPO, and that's where a lot of this information came from. And so this is all public information, so that's why I can share it with everybody. And I had to learn a lot about IPOs when this happened and read this document. But I didn't read all the risks because there's like 100 pages of risks for the business. And it may not be in here, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if we'll find it. I know on those early flights, so now we fly our aircraft around and they just fly by themselves. and they have like a maintainer on the ground, and a lot of times we'll have somebody driving a charge truck around as well. So it's a truck with a generator in it in case they can't charge it at the airport. In the beginning, we had another truck with all the parts that followed it around, and another aircraft, a chase aircraft. And so they would fly this chase aircraft, and they would, doing the same flights, and they would fuel them both up. So that was a good comparison. So there'd be like hundreds of dollars in fuel for this aircraft, but that one has maybe 8 people in it, versus the all-electric one, which has 1 person in it and like nothing else. So it's not exactly a fair comparison, I don't think.
When you compare the cost of they have to replace the batteries every year, right? You said?
Yeah.
So when you compare that cost, how does that compare to their, I'm sure you gave them okay, you're still going to save money.
I think so. I don't know. I don't know about that. But yeah, they must do that. Or they say this is what your cost will be, your fuel cost will be this much lower, and your maintenance cost will be this much lower over the course, the whole life cycle of the aircraft. They probably do it so it's just a little bit cheaper or something, I'd say. But.
So back in the days when we had a government that gave credit for clean air,
yeah,
probably this would have really helped. You could sell credits. What were they called?
Yes, yeah, carbon credits. And so, I mean, they still do that in Europe and in other locations around the world, right? So, yeah.
Let's see the last video.
So how often are these planes in the air in this area? So if we just parked ourselves outside the airport,
yeah,
are planes going up all the time?
Not all the time. So all our aircraft, they broadcast out their location, so you can see where they are as well. So a lot of planes do. So you can go to Flight Aware or Flight Radar and put in a tail number and see where it's been. So we have 2 aircraft at Plattsburgh right now, 1 in Norway, 1 in New Zealand. So this one is in the air right now. Took off at 2:11. It's flying around Plattsburgh. So since we do a lot of flight testing in Plattsburgh, you might have to drive there to see it. Yeah.
But most every day?
Yeah, most every day. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say that's true.
Chuck, let's watch the movie.
Okay.
And then people can ask questions after if you're willing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was awesome. That was so cool. That was fantastic.
176, Burlington clearance. Good morning. Clear to the JFK Airport. Be the Burlington 1 departure identified.
Nice little valley fog up there.
So it's just like, it's almost hands off here. You got the airplane.
So easy flying this thing. Have a cup of coffee.
Have a cup of coffee, kick back, that's what we do. Land is flying!
After working here for more than 8 years now and watching all of our aircraft fly and hover and do all the things that they do with our test pilots inside, it's always been one of those things of like, man, it'd be really cool to get to ride in one of those one day.
How are you?
In 10 years, we can look at this photo and have a little bit of a tear.
Yeah, I've known Kyle about 8.5 years now. He was looking for someone that knew how to make scale models and could fly RC stuff, and I was doing a lot of that at the time. And then he said, all right, this all sounds good. Can you start today? And I'm like, I can start tomorrow. And I came in the next day and started building the first Ava model.
They're out here. Put it in the back.
Spinning in 3, 2, 1.
Fuck yeah.
This at first was just another random job. And then as I got to know Kyle more and more over the first month or two, I realized how special and smart and hardworking everyone there was. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to work with. It was just on another level.
These are people that aren't going to foul. This is going to, like, something is here. It was just super uncertain, but it was fantastically fun.
So when we started, we were in a little office. It was probably a storage closet in the hangar underneath our workshop. That was where we built things to begin with. And then we've moved through a couple buildings in the area. There's a rotten barn behind the John Deere dealership near here. And that was our big upgrade.
I knew Kyle and Katie from high school, and then connected with Kyle again years later. At the time, I was ready for a change. So I told myself, why not? I'll just try it out for a year, see where it goes.
Riley Griffin, I'm on the flight sciences team. We handle everything that relates to aerodynamics, performance, stability and control, aeroelastics, basically how the plane flies.
Beta 8 years ago was a very different thing. For the first year and a half here, I think I had access to a 172 and I didn't have health insurance, which was kind of a funny joke at the time.
I had met Kyle briefly before he started Beta. I was at another tech startup, and employees like 2, 5, and 7 at Beta were all close friends of mine. And I tried very hard to talk them out of working at Beta Technologies. Those guys must be crazy. And then in January or so of 2019, they had an intervention with me, and they said, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter like how cool you think your job is, you have to come like work at Beta. That's all we can say.
Okay.
Some tires out of the way.
All right. So this model right here, this is from 2017, summer of 2017. This was built by Anna Svagstis and myself. The wing is over there still, but this is the main thrust of it, still with all the guts still in it, actually. Yeah, this was the original first transitioning scale model that Beta ever built.
The question with Ava was, how quickly can we build an airplane to show electric vertical takeoff and landing? And the answer, as always, is junkyard parts, right? We found like a Lancer, the wing was ruined, so we grabbed the body, and then maybe put on a wing from a different airplane. As I recall, we actually made our own props.
We modified it to evaluate electric propulsion and motors and batteries and flight controls. There was a little bit of handwork involved, but most of the parts were already there. We just kind of bolted them together.
I think it was like under 1 year and under $3 million. But that was your quick and dirty experiment. And boy, did we learn a lot.
Places.
So the problem with Kyle is how fucking smart he is. And so you can't bullshit him on anything technical, because he either knows better or in about an hour he's going to know better and get all the way down into the weeds and figure those things out. And so to have someone with the charisma, the ability to sell, coupled with the engineering and technical acumen, makes obviously a lethal combination here.
Kyle wanted to fly Ava from first flight in North Carolina all the way across to California. We never hit the goal because we came up with a better airplane design.
I was in the middle of this build when Kyle came down with the concept for Aaliyah and said, stop what you're doing. I think we know what we want to build next. There's just always been this like multiple things going on at once. While you're over there working on that, we're getting contracts to bring in money this way so we can hire a couple more people so we can go work on the thing that we really want to work on. Oh, we're going to make chargers. We're going to make our own batteries. We're going to make our own motors. And meanwhile, there's like a team of 12 of us going like, how are we going to do all this?
I'm amazed and impressed. It's like I want to give it more room to move. I feel like it's like a shark in an aquarium. And that's a scary thing, a shark in an aquarium.
Very glad to be here today with all of you to see how far he and the entire team, all of you at Beta Technologies have come. And this truly is a big deal for Vermont. As I've said many times before, I believe Beta will change aviation in the future.
One term I've heard is that you have artists and soldiers. And that's kind of the basis for any innovative company. And you need both of them equally. You need the artists to do all the crazy R&D stuff that, like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna try it and we're gonna do it passionately. Then you also need the people that are like heads down on the technical side, making sure like, okay, budgets are going out, we're gonna get paid for this contract. We're actually making this thing on this production line that we're gonna sell to customers.
Today, we're moving our bird from this location here in Burlington where we assembled it to our flight test area in Plattsburgh, New York, which is where we need to be to get the thing in the air and do all the cool stuff that's coming next. It's really exciting, and I come from, historically, let's call it more of a traditional industrial and aerospace world where things take a long time, and this is a really unbelievable change from that.
You know, with our quarterly milestones in the early days, that risk is right in front of you. You know that you need to get this motor spinning and we need to accomplish this test and do these milestones in order to continue as a company. We have to get this done or else we're done.
We're doing things that have never been done, so we can't really ask anybody like, hey, does this work? We kind of just need to find out.
Beta Technologies electric aircraft returns home after a coast-to-coast flight. Electric aircraft maker marks a historic moment for their company. Last month, they did their first complete maneuver of a plane that they hope will help revolutionize the industry. History was made today at JFK Airport as the first all-electric aircraft successfully touched down.
We all led all of our efforts. But the team was small enough where we all got together. We would set goals, objectives, and by the end of the week, we'd say, thumbs up, thumbs down, that worked, it didn't work. It was a very fast-paced organization.
I still walk in and I can't believe the size of the building. I still look around and I'm just amazed by how big we've grown. When you look back and you're like, those 8 years went by so fast. By the end of just the first year, we only had about 10 people, and now we're at over 1,000 people. I think a lot of the original team members are still here at Beta because you just really believed in what Kyle and Katie's vision was.
Like, it's one thing to sit down and read about these projects and go, yeah, that's a cool sci-fi dream. That'll eventually be the future, but I've got a nice job right now. But then you meet Kyle Clark and you get to know him and you go, I've never wanted to work for someone the way I've wanted to work for this dude.
Look how much power it's taking right now. We're flying Aaliyah this morning.
916 Leo Foxtrot. How many years have you guys been working on this plane? Almost 8?
Yeah, 8 years and 6 months or something like that.
Been watching it fly a lot, and I've climbed around in it a lot, but not actually flown in it. I would get to see what it feels like, yeah.
They have their fingerprints all over the design of this aircraft. We're gonna have a nice sunrise flight.
I think rock, paper, scissors for Violet. We'll do, and then winner takes slam. All right, okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right, we're flying.
We going flying?
We're all flying. Sunrise flight here with the original Daytons. Personally got a pet peeve about these fucking bugs in the window. So it's not about looking pretty. Not looking through it. You don't want to look through it, that shit.
being able to fly in something that I've helped build would be the culmination of everything I've been working towards.
Burlington Stellar information box dot time 0954 Zulu, wind 140 at 5, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature 12, 2.8, altimeter 3029er.
Before check baby 12. Together.
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, power set. Rudder's alive, feet on the floor. Centerline pride, Lino. Centerline pride.
80 coming up on rotate.
That's so fun.
That's so satisfying.
I'm gonna give it another 3 knots, 2, 1, just so Riley can feel his powerful tail.
Wow.
See that up there, Ben?
Flying with Kyle's always the most interesting experience. He's really good about taking things right to a limit and not going past them.
Smile for the camera.
Coming to Beta was like coming home because I got to do electric vehicles and aerospace all together. We got 800-900 people who are all solely focused on the mission of making electric flight happen. And we know that's only going to happen if we keep up the pressure and we deliver things on time.
When that thing banks and just holds it there at what feels like 90 degrees, and you're looking up and you see nothing but sky up there, nothing but ground down there, and then it feels like half a second later you can just go do the opposite and then come back like nothing ever happened. It's pretty crazy. That's the motivation, is we want to go do this crazy shit. And now we've been doing it for a while and it has turned into something else. I think that's where we're at.
Yes. That. Yeah, if you want to follow along, our website is beta.team. We're on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram are good places to keep up with what's going on. So, yeah, thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.